Is this only grand finals? I know how all the grooves work. I know the tiers. I know the basic mechanics of the game. I know that it's very neutral based with a lot of it's very poking oriented. It's very difficult to do something about someone just throwing out a poke with a really good hitbox. So you get a lot of buttons like Balrog Stand Fierce right here. Like Stand Fierce from Sagat, Crouch Fierce from Sagat. That are just insanely hard to contest in neutral. And that shows through to some degree in the tiers. A lot of safe supers too, aren't there? I know that the Capcom side is supposed to be pretty broke compared to the SNK side. There's 6 different grooves, and it's basically like choosing your game mechanics. There's 3 Capcom ones and 3 SNK ones. The SNK ones, one of them is like Garo's. It's like a single super bar, but you have Just Defend like Garo. And if you take damage, you get that bar, but also if you Just Defend, you get that bar. I think those are the only 2 ways to build it. Um, and that has like a level 3 super if you ever land the super, and also when you activate, I think you get increased damage and defense too? I don't know. Don't know about defense. That's K groove. It's like the closest thing to a parry in the game, even though there's an actual parry groove. Um, that's one of the SNK ones. One of the other SNK ones is like one where you have like jewels, and you can use the jewels to activate like a what's it called? Advanced. What do you call that mode? A powered up mode where you have increased attack and defense, and your next super turns into a super 3 instead of a super 1, but it costs a super bar to activate it. And then there was I literally don't even know how N groove or not N groove S groove works. I've literally never seen anyone pick S groove. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be garbage. I think both C groove and A groove have air blocking, I think. And then K groove has air just defend. And I guess P groove has air parry. I don't know actually. C groove gives you alpha style super meter where you've got 3 different bars and you can use 1 bar or 2 or 3 depending on which button of super you do. And the super 2s can be cancelled to super 1s I think, and the super 1s are pretty weak, and the super 3s are pretty strong. Oh yeah, and all the SNK grooves have a run and all the Capcom grooves have a dash. And all there's like a couple things like that. Like some basic mechanics are taken based on which side you pick. Also, the character portraits are based on which side you pick. Amusingly, A groove is the really good one, I think. Well, I mean, they're all good. C, K, and A get a lot of use. Um, A groove is the one that gives you alpha style custom combos, but you can still do supers. It just takes half your super bar instead of a third compared to C groove, you know, to do a level 1 super, and you don't have access to big supers at all. Oh, S groove is the one that's like extra mode. There are no assists. A groove has activations that let you do like an agent style combos. The parry timing is really tight in this game. I know it's supposed to be a lot harder than third strike parrying, but parries theoretically are better than just defends. You have more time to do something, but the parries still aren't as good as third strike parries. Like third strike parries pretty much guarantee a punish in most contexts. Anyway, you choose 3 characters and then you choose a game mechanic, and it kind of makes it like you're playing that game. Like playing C Groove kind of makes it feel like you're playing Street Fighter Alpha. I left and came back. I pretty much woke up immediately before Bath Cup, just so we're clear, because I had a really shitty fucking night of it last night. I woke up, I fell asleep for like 2 hours, then my mom woke me up to go get her car fixed. She needed to be driven to the fucking fixed place. Or rather, driven home from it. She could drive there herself, but she was leaving her car there. And then I came home and stayed up for a little bit longer. But basically, I got like woken up really early to help my mom with something. That time. Who won? Rugal. Or not, Yamazaki. I don't have to be up until 7 p.m. tonight. That's when my work starts. God, I love my new work schedule. But I need to make something of it. I need to actually make videos and shit. There's a new guy at my job. I have like decent seniority at my job now. I'm like third behind my department supervisor. I know that K Groove is supposed to be viable, but it's supposed to get smashed by A Groove because A Groove's combos last so long that they can like force K Groove to activate and then like waste most of its time. And also like they can force it to activate and then kill it before it can do anything with the activation, shit like that. I know C is supposed to be very good in general without having any particular like weaknesses. I know that K Groove is supposed to normally be really good but match up poorly against A. A in general has like the longest combos, but most characters don't work for A, I think. Like you can't really make custom combos work for a lot of characters. And then there's a couple other things where like a lot of characters can't really do anything with the super from K Groove. So like only certain characters can do like good confirms for K Groove, which is why you see a lot of characters like Morgan or Cammy on K Groove only, because their ability to confirm is really good. Something like that. I think a lot of characters are supposed to be really bad on A Groove, like Sagat. I know Shadaloo is supposed to be really good in A Groove, Boxer and Vega and Bison especially. I'm pretty sure Blanca in A Groove is supposed to be broken, but Blanca works in any groove. Blanca's like the best character. Yeah, don't all the SNK grooves get hops? Activate and then turtle. You're forced into K Groove's activation. You can't choose. This is sometimes a weakness. If Ryu is top tier, a game is just fine. If like a turtley kind of defensive character is top tier, that hurts a lot. If a rushdown character is top tier, I feel like that's okay. Get your shit pushed in really fast by dive kicks and whatnot. If a grappler's top tier, I fear for my life. I hate games where grapplers are top tier, man. That fucking Vism Zangief. That Sodom. Don't need that shit in my life. Sodom's only barely a grappler. He has a non-traditional command grab and a hit grab. The thing about grapplers compared to most characters is they have very programmed in weaknesses. So in a game where a grappler is top tier is usually a game where they don't have any weaknesses. But just in general, it's frustrating to fight grapplers sometimes. If they've got like a really broken mix-up, it's like, wow, I can play right, but if I lose the mix-up, I lose anyway. Yeah, have you ever noticed that a lot of people hate playing against Mika and Forte? You ever observed that tendency? A lot of people hate playing against random. You can fight against Yun, and it's like, well, I got my shit rushed down, but it was at least not like, you know, it felt like I got outplayed. You can play against fucking Cammy in Street Fighter 4 and feel like you got outplayed, or Seth, or Yun. Grapplers often ignore parries, but I don't think there's ever been a game with parries and a broken grappler. Maybe Chadha and Yatagarasu. That's the only one I can think of. But I don't know anything about that game because I've never played it. I mean, I did play it, but like, I've never played it competitively. I've never fought a Chadha. It's very important in fighting games to feel like you got outplayed. That makes losing a lot more fun, in my opinion. A lot more acceptable. I think that's something all fighting games should strive for, and one of the really big differences between people who are good at fighting games, people who like fighting games and people who don't. People who don't like fighting games lose and just feel like they lost and get like upset. People who like fighting games lose and feel like they got outplayed and respect the opponent. And then people who like feel like they got outplayed see an ideal that they strive for, where they can eventually outplay someone. I feel like there's a really big difference in mindset there. I've got to talk a lot about that when I talk about rising up. I've got to talk about how losing is one of the most important things you can ever do. The most important thing I can impart on someone is having the correct mindset to play. A lot of supers in this game are safe. So you'll see someone just do like a fucking nutty super. Yeah, it's important for a fighting game to do it correctly. Sometimes you'll get outplayed and you'll feel like you weren't. Depending on the game, it can like that's one of the things that like bad players are bad at even when the game does it well, is they won't be able to recognize skill from the opponent. So it's important that the game creates a scenario where you can easily recognize that the opponent did something skillful. Third Strike did that quite well. If you get your ass parried, it feels like your opponent did something correctly. You know what I mean? Whereas a game with let's say Street Fighter 4, this is actually one of Street Fighter 4's few failings. The Third Strike I feel did better. Um, Street Fighter 4, uh, it's not as bad as ST, but like oftentimes like a good Ryu can beat you throwing fireballs and doing like almost nothing else if you're like not good at fighting Ryu. If you've never really fought a Ryu before, you can literally just die to fireballs. And you see this all the time. The person that happens to someone who doesn't really understand fighting games yet, and they just say, "I lost to spam," and they feel bad. If you get parried or like outread, it's like, well, I wasn't even playing the same game as him. Or like a game with long combos. I wasn't even playing the same game as him. He was just much better than me. Tekken succeeds on that front. Before I was really into fighting games, I played Tekken casually. And when 5DR came out, it had online play. And I played some online, and I played a bunch of guys who were just doing like fucking the little combos, the pre-programmed combos, which is pretty much what I was doing. And then I fought like an Anna Williams who, like the player actually knew his juggles. And he was doing like fucking hop kicks until like, you know, like 30-40% combos. And I realized like fucking he was smashing me in neutral, but he was also smashing me in the juggles, and I realized I had like he was so much more ready to play the game properly than I was. I was like shit. But I didn't feel bad about losing. I was like impressed to see his play. I was like excited to see what the game was supposed to look like when you played it well. My reaction might have been not quite a normal person's reaction, but that was my instinctive reaction, getting smashed in Tekken. I was like, oh fuck, this is amazing. compared to Street Fighter 4, where you see a lot of do thing until opponent can convince you not to. This is one of the little things that hurt Street Fighter 4 competitively. Or not competitively, it didn't hurt it all competitively. It hurt it socially. There are characters with long combos in Street Fighter 4, and I've noticed that those characters tend to get some wows. If you fight if like there's a fucking normie who isn't into fighting games, sees like soccer or gameplay, and he sees like the long combos, he's like, oh shit. The exact opposite, which tends to get the opposite response, is the kind of character who can just get one touch and win. One of them late game characters. It's kind of unimpressive when you see like a Ryu outplay an Abel for like a really fucking long time, like 70 seconds, and then the Abel gets a step kick, a stand fierce, a change of direction, FADC crouch fierce ultra, and does 50% in one combo. That's pretty short. That's the super that made it into Street Fighter 5. It's only in this game in alpha. Now Street Fighter 4 is a lot better than Street Fighter 2 in this regard because um, in Street Fighter 2, fireballs actually are broken, but in Street Fighter 4, there are a number of ways around them. And of course, every Ryu knows you can't just be nutty with fireballs because occasionally someone's going to jump over them and get you with a full jumping combo. So you have to occasionally not throw fireballs. And so there's a lot more like throw fireball, anti-air jump, or like, you know, stand hard kick, far stand fierce, like uh, sure you can. There's a lot more like, or like crouch medium kick and fireball. There's a lot more spacing and like decision making than just chuck plasma over and over. The old Sagat like fucking throw fireball, they jump on reaction to the fire, or like they jump predicting the fireball, they still get anti-aired by a sweep. Old Sagat low tiger shot is the worst offender because it's a fireball that's safe even when predicted. Okay, versus Old Sagat is fun if you hate yourself. That's pretty much the worst matchup in the game. I'm pretty sure that's just outright the worst matchup in the game that doesn't involve Akuma. I'm pretty sure the actual worst matchup in the game would probably involve Akuma and Zangief. Because Zangief's options against an air fireball are non-existent. Kami can at least uppercut an air fireball and maybe get a trade, I think. Zangief has to answer fireballs, Green Hand, which won't hit an air fireball, Lariat, which doesn't have, it only has mid-body invincibility, not head invincibility, so air fireball still hit it. And he has absolutely nothing else. So he can't anti-air air fireballs, and he can't approach because air fireballs are a perfect wall. Update to Windows 10. I'm still using 7. It doesn't sit well with me, that fucking data uh, gathering. I'd prefer not to be a part of that. I don't like the idea of Windows logging everything you do. And there's a lot of old shit, like DOS shit, I still do on my computer. I probably won't update to Windows 10 anytime soon. I'm waiting for the operating system that can very easily emulate old operating systems. I guess that's all operating systems, isn't it? I think he could have gotten a super there. I comboed from really far out. That's an interesting sentiment, Ryan. I've never played Xrd competitively at all, but there's a lot of things that I know are fundamental to the game, such as like Milia's meaties, where I never would have thought about them by myself. I literally would not have come up with Milia's meaties, and I'm like normally really good with that sort of thing. That's because so many people. Milia's been in development for such a long time. Milia is like a gameplay style that's been developing for like people have been cultivating Milia for like years and years, and now her meaty setups have been very deliberately added. New characters usually a lot easier to figure out, or rather, there's less stuff like if there's more to figure out, no one knows it yet. I've played BlazBlue quite a lot in training mode just to fool around, just because I have it on like handheld and it's kind of fun to play. Um, it seems like it's the next step up if you've mastered other 2D fighting games. It seems like it tried to have a really, really high ceiling for people who have like gotten good at Street Fighter or Guilty Gear or fucking King of Fighters and want something else to do with their skills. It seems like they did everything in their power to just make the ceiling really high, especially with characters like Carl Clover. Is that it? It's over. Aw, Sakura. I'll probably play Tekken 7 casually. I doubt I'll treat it like a serious game. I pretty much only play 2D fighters, and I'm very picky about which ones of those I play. I tend to play each new Street Fighter, and I tend to play NetherRealm games, and then every now and then I'll play some kind of indie bullshit. And I've been strongly considering playing Melty Blood. I know a lot more about BlazBlue than I do about Guilty Gear, to be honest. I know very little about Guilty Gear, but I don't play either competitively, so. BlazBlue feels more technical, though. It feels like the combos go on longer, and it feels like there's more you need to know to even begin playing. Yeah, I didn't play Accent Core or anything, so if that's a lot more technical, I wouldn't know. Japan in charge of having a Rufus. What the fuck? Nice punish. Wow. The high profile on that jump fierce. Yeah, I don't know anything about which game is harder at a high level. It just seems like BlazBlue is harder at a low level. It seems like there's a bigger initial investment to understanding your character. I remember Arachne. I remember Chrono or Calamity Trigger. I remember Calamity Trigger Arachne. Those were the good old days. He was cool in that game. Has he really been low tier since then? I watched Darkstalkers and it looks fun, but there's certain things I feel like I don't quite know if I would want to play 2 or 3, Night Warriors or Vampire Savior. Vampire Savior is the only one I've seriously played. I played quite a lot of it too. Option select. I can't believe that worked. It's all normals in Vampire Savior, but there are a lot of little kind of archaic things in Night Warriors that make me not really like it. Vampire Savior looks the cleanest and most developed, but it's just so like it's so based in chaining. There's all these mechanics that see like no use ever. It's like some things are just really strong and some things are just garbage. You barely see ES moves, you barely see EX moves, you barely see the fucking activations. You just see a whole lot of fucking forward dashes and then like normal strings that are like safe on block. If you're gonna have chaining, I feel like you need to have the chaining unsafe. Cross Tekken did it like that. They made it so you couldn't chain and cancel in the same combos. And that basically just means there's no cancels. It's not like people are deciding between like, oh, chaining and canceling. I guess I'll have to do chaining sometimes and canceling sometimes. It's just always chains. Being able to start combos from light normals that like leads to knockdown is way too good. It's better than being able to use special moves or meter. You only see the special moves as like zoning, screen control, shit like QB's honey. Chaining is just canceling normals into normals. I like how you attributed that to Mortal Kombat, but Tekken does it too. Like all 3D fighting games do that, and also Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat is an excellent fusion of 2D and 3D. I feel like it kind of takes the best of both worlds. Crush Sweep didn't get a crush counter on counter hit. It felt weird to watch. Good old Chun-Li's +1 dash. +1 level 1 focus attack. Japanese Chun is extremely good. I think he missed it. He lost a hit there. Amusing. He should have won that. If he just did like an EX move, if he did Crouch Fierce EX Tatsu dash forward Ultra 1, that would have killed. Weird looking juggles. Mortal Kombat gets a lot of crap from people who like don't think it's a real fighting game. But they've come a long fucking way. MKX is, in my opinion, one of the best fighting games ever made. I think MK9 is pretty godlike too, to be honest. I also quite like Injustice. There's something about them in particular that I really love, is that they're unchained. They're unrestrained at NetherRealm. There's a big emphasis on balance nowadays that didn't used to exist with, say, Street Fighter, where they would give someone something broken and see what happened. Like now they would never do that. Now they wouldn't give like a character a fucking special move with crazy potential unless they were pretty sure they knew the full potential of the move. You know what I mean? Like when they gave Kami EX dive kick, when they gave Ken EX air Tatsu, they knew very much what they were doing and the full potential of what it was capable of. That was a failed ultra. When they gave Bison the fucking invincibility dash, they had the full idea of its capacity. Sakura took that away. There's no like actual broken shit. They knew what you could do with the tornado, with Rashid's tornado. The thing about Mortal Kombat team is they'll give someone something super fucking broken, and they'll be like, I wonder what will happen. You used to see that a lot with old Street Fighter games. But now it's a design philosophy that's like gone. I guarantee you when they designed Gennadian, they were just like, I wonder what will happen. But that's like a good example. What's a bad example? Makoto's Super 3. They didn't have a plan for that. They were just like, I wonder what will happen. And that's why it sucks. It's because they didn't have a plan for it. It's because they didn't have something that was designed to counter. Neutered is a good word for what I'm trying to discuss. MK still has that feel. It hasn't lost it. I mean, it always had it, I guess. They're still cool to give someone something broken. They're a bit more careful about it. They knew what they were doing with Jax, or not Jax, Cyborg. When they designed Cyborg and Injustice, they knew that they were doing something like what they did with Cabal. And they were a bit more careful about giving Cyborg less other things to play around with because they knew that what they gave Cabal was broken. But yeah, is kind of what I'm talking about, is put something broken in and fix it later. But it's not necessarily broken, it's just they don't... It's too complex to fully understand in the moment. You know what I mean? They would never put in any Street Fighter game, they never put in anything that's too complex to fully comprehend anymore. Does that make any sense? There are no ultras in Street Fighter 4 where it's just like, we don't know a scenario for this, but maybe players will be able to find one. Everything has a purpose. MK is insanely easy to play with people who don't play fighting games. I think that's one of its biggest strengths. There are reasons to play it even if you're not competitive, and it's insanely easy to pick up on a competitive level. If you were trying to learn a first fighting game, I would actually say Mortal Kombat's one of the best ones. Because of how insanely easy it is. It's like almost 100% strategy and almost 0% execution. I had a friend who like didn't know anything about fighting games, and he picked up Injustice in like 10 seconds. Yeah, Raging Panic. That's what I'm really trying to say. Mortal Kombat is very much around hot fixing. So they'll put in something stupid and then fix it later. If it's broken. and it creates a very different feeling. It feels like you can really find something amazing. I explored every single character in Street Fighter V extensively by myself, and it feels like I found that they were extremely good designers, but I never really felt like crazy potential with anything except maybe parries, like Zangief's parry, or like I don't know. There's not that much shit that really feels crazy. With Mortal Kombat, it feels like you can actually. It feels like Marvel. Marvel did that as well. Marvel 3 is actually a game, a modern game that did this. When you play Marvel 3, it feels like you can find something that's legitimately broken if you try hard enough. And a lot of people have. Maybe look at fucking, what's it, Angelic's team with the Shuma and the, is it Angelic? No. Well, maybe Angelic. Who's the guy with the scroll? The scroll and the red armor. Who is that? Is that Angelic? No, Angelic has like the Doctor Doom team. I mean Doctor Strange team. The Dormammu and the Shuma, doesn't he? That's the vampire can. It looks retarded. Apology Man. Yeah. Apology Man. Like if you look at his gameplay, he found something really fucking broken. That fucking wake up entry character entry mix up. What do you call that? Nice little frame trap. Meaty, perhaps. A more appropriate word. I don't know enough about Guilty Gear to say whether they're doing that or not. It seems like they are, but I don't know. It seems like they tried less hard than their previous games, but I don't know. They don't immediately fix a lot of shit, actually. As I just mentioned with Cyborg, they deliberately added in something that was considered broken before. If they were really afraid or really didn't know what they were doing, they would just create a character that didn't have that kind of crazy potential. But they want that crazy potential. And the hotfixing is definitely not immediate. They got a lot of shit for that in MK9, so they stopped. But MK9 was their first real competitive game. I say, pretending that MK versus DC does not exist. Maybe I had friends who just tried a little harder. But my friends like actually learned their combos and shit. No, I don't necessarily want that. I'm just saying it's missing and MK still has it. That's one thing I like about it. I actually prefer like the emphasis on balance over um, tech, over potential. But I feel like so many games now do balance over potential that there's something great that was lost. I mean, sometimes there's a straight up bug, but like name an example. I can't think of one. Oftentimes, DLC character will be fixed upon the addition of the next DLC character, but I can't think of that many like serious like crazy nerfs that have happened just purely because of. The only one I can think of off the top of my head is uh, Raiden with that towards one too. That's like the one example I can think of them like finding something just insanely broken and hotfixing it immediately, and that was extremely easy to miss. And they're also really smart about the way they rebalance characters because they'll try and keep the fun. They'll try and keep the crazy. They'll try to just keep it in a more balanced way. They won't try to just remove the thing that was stupid. In my opinion, MKXL is one of the best rebalances I've ever seen of any game. Oh, this is a pretty nice Alforte. His name is Coco. Never heard of him. Poison was never realized, in my opinion. Jason nerfed right at the beginning. I don't remember any hotfix for Jason. I don't remember. I remember Jason being kind of weak from the beginning, and I remember Tremor never really being weak until XL anyway. Every single like change to like the unused characters. Can I just say right now that the variation system is the single best thing I've ever seen in a fighting game? Does everyone know how that shit works? Because that shit was genius. It's like Ryu and Evil Ryu. They did that for every character, but did three of them. I play MKX quite a lot. I haven't played it that recently. I used to play with my friends on PC, but PC doesn't have XL. But it's not like I never touch it anymore. Three characters in one slot. I mean, yeah. That's what I'm saying with Ryu and Evil Ryu. You get quite a lot of character differences. I mean, usually not with normals. That's the thing about MK that I really actually adore, about MKX, about the variation system in general, is that it feels like every single one has weaknesses. You realize what you're losing when you look at the variations. You have a very good sense for what the strengths of each one are, because they're all the unique things. I think variations did well the thing that Gems tried to do and sucked at, which is the idea of having more customization options in your character. I feel like it's just a really, really elaborate and good version of like choosing your ultra. Is this really a Poison Kiss poison? Didn't they change Poison Kiss somehow? Did they give it some stun? I remember they got buffed, I think, in like 1.04 or something, but I don't remember what they did to it. What's a good example of a variation? Look at Tanya. Alright, you can make a lot of claims that Tanya's bullshit, and I actually agree, at least at launch, that Tanya was bullshit. But when Tanya launched, she had three different variations that all played radically differently that were all extremely viable. And you had people playing all three in tournament. Like, not even just based on matchups, just play styles. There were people who legitimately thought, they were like convinced that like Dragon Naginata was the best the best Tanya, and then other people who were convinced that that Tonfas was the best Tanya. Like when you're out there playing a fighting game, you're out there trying to prove your character is hot shit when you're using them. I have no idea how Justice will handle tourney play, but I guarantee that Ed Boon is aware of the issue. The question is, will he think of a good solution? And that is a question I cannot answer. My money is on no. But I've been surprised before. Gems done well sounds really fun. I mean, Tanya was like a little too solid on release, if you know what I mean. But that's not the only example of that. They were all three Liu Kangs. In fact, they've been all three Liu Kangs pretty much since the beginning. You don't see Duelist very much. You saw a little bit right at the beginning. You never see it much anymore. But like every character has pretty much two um, uh, good variations of like a close viability. I see Johnny Cages of all three varieties all the time. I actually see a decent amount of Cryo Sub these days, in addition to Grandmaster. I see all three Scorpions all the fucking time. You get all three, what do you call this, Aaron Blacks. It's like not uncommon to run into even marksman. Them dash cancels. I like this poison. I've never even touched Alien. I appreciate when the variations have almost nothing different but still play radically differently. But sometimes it's like I acknowledge that all three reptiles actually play quite differently, even though he only changes one special move across all three of his variations. He'd still that one special move changes the entire way the character's played. And I think that's good design, but also like I wish that there was more differences between the reptiles. Poison may or may not have been a man at some point, and is extremely tall. Also, Ryu is not particularly tall. I think Ryu's like 5'10", which might be just above the male average of the world. 5'9", there you go. I feel like Mortal Kombat also did a good job trying to create archetypes, because that's something that's really hard to do these days. I think Street Fighter V did a pretty good job there when it tried to, which it didn't. Um, Street Fighter Street Fighter V had what 16 characters at launch, and then every single DLC character's been a return character. So we've had 4 new characters, and Nikali has absolutely nothing new in the spectrum of Street Fighter. But Feng and Laura and who else? Rashid. They're all attempts to create new character archetypes, and they all succeed pretty well in my opinion. They all have like ideas that have never been done before in Street Fighter, and maybe anywhere. But the problem is they didn't try very hard to create new character archetypes. DiCaprio was an attempt at a new character archetype. So was Jury and so was Hakan. I would say that all 3 succeeded. Succeeded is a strong word. since a lot of people didn't play Jury or Hakan pretty much ever for the entire lifespan of the game. When you play Rashid, it doesn't feel like you're playing any other character. Nikali, Nikali's combination of tools doesn't exist to anyone but him, but it doesn't feel new at all. Everything feels robbed from someone else. Every normal, every special. I'm extremely sleepy. This is an Ultra 2 Ryu. Anti-air hard uppercut. It's the main's anti-air. There like isn't a single V trigger that's do more damage now except Cammy's. That's a completely unfair um, criticism. Most V triggers literally deliberately do not operate like that. Most fundamental is a thing that I like to pretend is not a thing. I don't believe in a most fundamental. Do I believe it's the most explored matchup? Maybe. No, I probably think it's Ryu. The most understood matchup. Fundamental is a meaningless word. He could have actually had a combo there. Alright, Ultra 2 Ryu, show us your magic. That was it! Ryu's V-Trigger doesn't increase his damage. Or, I mean, it does increase his damage, but, like, that's only in V-Trigger cancel combos, which literally every character can do. I mean, yeah, it increases the damage of his uppercut, but it's more about the stun and the fireball knockdown. It's more about the change in his footsies. Laura's makes new juggles possible. And also changes the way that a lot of her special moves, literally all her special moves operate. And her reskill. Nikali's changes a lot of shit. Did he get it? Nice. Balrog's definitely changes the way he plays footsies more than it allows him to do bigger combos. The combos that Balrog gets from V-Trigger don't even add that much damage. Fung doesn't increase his damage at all. I mean, I guess passively in a very indirect way it does. It literally doesn't affect his damage, it just makes it so the opponent's poisoned when they're next to him. I think if they added a V cancel as you describe it, Ryan, um, you would not use meter on anything else. V meter on anything else. You would stop seeing V reversals and you would stop seeing V triggers. It's already rare enough to see a V trigger. You gotta get low enough health and then you gotta like not use any V reversals. Or it's already rare enough to see V reversals. They're already mutually exclusive with each other. Adding a third option is not the way to go unless you start building a lot more meter. Oh, that's what you meant by completely change the balance of the game. You meant it in a negative way. It wouldn't breathe new life. The state changes are the best V triggers. I thought you were just complaining about the ones that just add damage. The ones that change states are the ones that are really well designed. He wanted the full connect to that, but he got the tiny connect. Sims is like the worst V trigger in the game, I feel. The fact that the opponent can spend one V bar to burn both of yours. Like, yeah, you can hit confirm into it. You can do like low fierce into low forward V trigger. And I like what it does in terms of white health and his very shitty mix-up that turns into a very good mix-up once there's a lot of white health. I do like Sims V trigger. I think they need to rethink it, but I like it. But I think the most fundamentally uninteresting V trigger in the game is probably all the hit ones, like Vegas and Sims. It's just another special move that you usually don't have. There's nothing to Vega's V trigger. Vega has no potential. That being said, if it was me, I would probably do it. If they added a second V trigger for everyone, I would make it so everyone has like a hit V trigger and an activation V trigger. I'd probably do it like that. Ibuki's V trigger, at least you get two of them. I actually quite like that one. I feel like it's hard to realize outside of confirm combos, but the confirm combos into it are currently underutilized. I would actually prefer if it was two V triggers, one of them is a hit and the other one's an activate, and everyone has them all the time. Like it's not even a choice. I prefer an alpha style thing. It's like, oh, I can activate my hit V trigger right now, or I can activate my activation V trigger after I do my combo that doesn't involve the hit V trigger. Like that's the decision you get to make. Or like pick one or the other based on the way the match is playing out. It's like, well, I might want to use this one to fucking punish this fireball, but that will prevent me from using this one that like helps my footsies later on. There hasn't been a game in a long time where you have two supers at the same time and you choose between them. I think it works well with the opportunity cost. The beautiful thing about the V meter is that everything about it is already really good. You could just keep on laying things into it. You could just make it harder and harder. She could have punished that for the kill. That was a good EX drill. They could make 20 things that you can use your V meter on, and it wouldn't break the game or the characters. It seems like the design decision of Street Fighter V is what decision should I make? And so, like, more things that you're choosing between, I think, would help quite a lot in that regard. V-Trigger is the best one to expand in terms of, like, balance and excitingness, I feel. But I would really like to see all three. The thing I most prefer that they did, probably, is selectable. I mean, I dream of a day where you have like two V triggers at once and a selectable super, or two supers at once and a selectable V trigger. But what I expect them to do, or not what I expect them to do, but what they could do, and I would still really like it, that's not completely out of the question, is a selectable V trigger at the start of the match, and it changes your V skill too. That one seems relatively innocent. And it also seems not that hard to balance because if you had a character with a good V trigger for dodging fireballs, but a terrible V skill for fireballs, you could do it the other way around. Wow. It's like, oh, I'm losing Balrog's excellent V skill for going through fireballs. But in return, I'm getting a 2-bar V trigger that lets me punish fireballs all the time it's activated. Or like something like that. Ooh, you can punish that. I think that was a punish. I feel like the game isn't deep enough. That's the biggest thing I think they should change, is anything to add depth. And changing V skills is the least deepening. Well, it's not. Changing supers is probably the least, adds the least depth. Because supers are rarely a factor compared to V skills. Super, 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 super. Red focus. I would have preferred a super. Vega was buffed by literally every component of Ultra. His worst matchups got not as bad, and all three mechanics benefit him immensely. And also he got a bunch of buffs just in the game. Selectable Ultra was a good decision. I wish they would expand on that. People like selecting things about their characters. And it's tactical too. Yeah, Ultra 3 mechanics, don't you remember? Red focus, delayed stand, and Ultra combo double. Vega benefits immensely from all three. Alright, you know how I change Fung? Alright, everyone listen to me. Alright, alright, alright. 1-bar V trigger. I just fixed Fung. It took 1 bar to activate. Well, both, I guess. Just 1 bar. One little stock. I might even take away the poison effect. Just be like, this is 100% a combo tool. Stand fierce into V-trigger, motherfucker. They won't do that, but I'd like it. This Vegas a gob with those. You want to know how to actually fix Fung? You get poisoned. You get poisoned again. Your health goes down twice as fast. That's how I'd fix Fung. And you get poisoned by Nishikyu, you get poisoned twice. Because it hits twice. Somebody's Ultra wouldn't have even stopped that. Fung suffers from being very experimental. I think Ibuki will be turning viable. I'm not 100% sure yet, but from what my knowledge of what she can do, I think that there's no way she could not be viable. If anything, I think she's strong. I don't think V-Trigger would just keep stacking up. I think it would just automatically add one to whatever it was. And just that one time. Unless they got unpoisoned, then it would add that one back. It would actually have, like, in the game's code, like, poison from Nishikyu, poison from Sotoja, poison from V-Trigger. And the poison from V-Trigger wouldn't stack up. You can only have one on at a time. I remember that. That was it. I tried to think of the pants on head retarded thing Combo Fiend said. I was like, oh man, remember that one retarded thing that Combo Fiend said where he literally got the balance of a character the opposite? And I couldn't think of what it was. But it was Yun's EX Dash Punch. He must have been chuckling to himself when he said that. Oh man, Yun can't approach safely. I mean, if you're gonna bet a bar, I never thought that was broken. I never thought that was that big a deal. If that was Ultra. I think it's okay for Yun to be +1 if fucking Viper has EX Seismo. Even post-nerf EX Seismo. I think it's okay for EX Dash Punch to be +1 when EX Rekka exists. I can't imagine the way that Fung's supposed to be played if not the way that we currently see him. He doesn't have anything that's not being used, from what I can tell. I think Alex shouldn't have to be skilled to parry with his V-Trigger. I think that's the biggest problem with Alex. Not only do you have to have perfect execution, but the fucking cost of attempting is so fucking high. If I were making Alex, I would make it so he automatically parries anything while you're holding the buttons. And you could still release them during a parry to cancel the sledgehammer. But as long as you kept holding the buttons, you would keep on parrying automatically. Kind of like Geef during his V-trigger V-skill. I think if you're going to bet the farm on a fucking sledgehammer, hoping to parry something, you at least shouldn't get fucked because the thing you parried happened to be 2 hits of an unusual timing. That was a punish. Now you have to hit a new V-trigger every single time. You hold it for a parry, but once you parry something, you have to press it again for a new one. Parrying cancels your sledgehammer. Well, Geef can't really do that. Geef can only kind of do it while doing the walk forward V-skill in V-trigger, so literally all resources. But Geef has the best parry by far. It's the least committal. Ryu takes a big gamble, Alex takes an obscene gamble. Geef bets very little because the recovery is so short, and because the length of the parry is extremely easy to time, and also can be varied so you're not really punishable. The thing is, Geef can always do shit like that. Alex needs V-trigger and, like, if you go for it and people don't hit a button, you're locked into Sledgehammer's animation. Your parry is quite useful, but you need a hard read. You need to have a plan. You can't just do it in neutral and expect it to work. It's great, but you can't just expect it to work. You have to be looking for something. No, I could see why someone would think that Ryu parry sucks, to be honest. That was a good ultra. When you consider like what a parry is and how little Ryu's parry really functions against, you pretty much can't use it in neutral. Or not that you can't use it, but it's often suicidal to use it in neutral. You're risking more than you get using it in neutral. If you could dash from Sledgehammer windup, it would literally be a focus attack, but I wouldn't be... I'm still okay with that, just so we're clear. That would be fine for me. The thing is, Ryu's parry is extremely easy to use against reactable moves, of which there are very few in the game, and extremely hard to use against unreactable moves. That combined with the fact that I'm pretty sure it has 3 startup frames, so you can't use it like a reversal. You can kind of use it a little bit like a reversal on long frame traps, if you like know that something is always a 3-frame window or bigger. When you consider what a parry is and then compare it to like Ryu's parry is one of the most gimped parries I've ever seen in any fighting game. But it's still really good because it gives you really good punishes on certain things. It's actually pretty hard to parry things as Ryu. I've never tried to parry Chun's critical art. I don't remember when it was that fast. Was it ever like 5 frames or something? I remember when Guile's Ultra 1 was 5 frames during the Street Fighter 4 Ultra Beta. Those were the days. That was fun as hell. The thing about Alex's parry especially is that you need to already be in V trigger. You can't just do it. You can't activate V trigger and then parry if you see a moonsault. You don't have time for all that. You only have time for like the parry if you're already in V trigger. Street Fighter 4 Ultra is the only version of Street Fighter 4 that had a beta, and it was like a real life beta only. You had to go to the location tests, and there were some pretty godlike little things in it. Vega had invincibility on EX flip kick during one of them, and I gotta admit that's some of the most fun Vega I've ever played. In one of the location tests, I played Sherry Genix and got a perfect on her. I beat her in a long set. Baph is better than Sherry Genix. Wow, that worked. Poor Honda. Why are these guys picking such bad ultras? I'm pretty sure that that ultra was one frame during the location test too. What are some other really crazy things during the beta? I think I don't remember. I think DiCaprio wasn't in the location test at all. I think it was just the other ones. I remember Hugo had something crazy. I think I was just impressed by Hugo's size. When Hugo was first revealed, he was so big he made T-Hawk look tiny. But like now I'm used to it. I don't remember if she still had the beeping by the location tests. Yeah, she had gun spiral arrow. Early DiCaprio footage. Alex's parry is a non-factor. That's the one thing about his character that's the weakest. They tried to make this thing. I think that's one of the most. I think that's the most overt example of like poor design slash balance in Street Fighter 5. Most everything is perfect, but Alex's V trigger is laughable. It's okay as a combo extender. The thing is, the parry is like the least relevant part of that because there's a bunch of other things about it that are good. But it like Alex's the parry aspect of Alex's V trigger is so laughably bad. Alex's V skill is also kind of awful. I think Alex overall is okay, but Alex's V system is just horrendous. Even his V reversal is extremely poorly thought out. Poison's sweep was actually special cancelable during the entire arcade version, which was post location test. Alex's parry is bad because in order to even attempt the parry, you have to lock yourself into Sledgehammer's animation, and Sledgehammer is extremely punishable. It's basically like a focus attack you can't stop. So like imagine if you had to hold focus attack to level 3 every single time, and then imagine it took longer. His V skill is a great idea, it's just impossible to do. His V skill gives you, he swings his arm around and it gives your next attack a counter hit. It's actually perfect for his design. They designed a lot of his shit around counter hits. Unfortunately, it's impossible to get a V skill up, so it doesn't matter. And also, it goes away too easily. It's on your next hit. Alright, did anyone notice this? Alex, what's Alex's reversal? It's, EX shoulder, right? Charge back, EX slash elbow. Charge back towards plus kicks. 2 kicks, okay? What's Alex's, V reverse? It's, wall blocking towards plus 3 kicks. You guys notice that? You see a problem here? If I want to V reverse something, and I'm not in block stun, like my block stun wears off, like it's a light normal, there's no human way I can input it because I'm gonna be blocking and then like hitting forward. There's no human way. There's no possible input that I can avoid putting in a an EX slash elbow. And Akali has it too. See, they knew it was an issue. That's why Geef has towards plus kicks. They just didn't think about it with all characters. They only thought about it with a few. Even though Geef visibly hits you with his chest, which sounds more like a punch thing than a kick thing, it's towards plus kicks because it has command overlap with Lariat. They dodged the bullet with Geef. They're like, oh, that's command overlap, let's avoid that. But they made no attempt to avoid that with Nikali and Alex. If you think, play whichever character you like. I think Birdie has a better future than Alex, but Alex will probably get rebalanced pretty soon anyway. And by pretty soon, I mean within this year. It's up to you, man. Whichever one you find is more fun is the better character for you. That's the end truth. Bring in a bar. He wants this round. Oh my god, that was unblockable. He had to quick stand to dodge that. He can't kill here. There's no human way. He really burned a bar on that just for the Oki. Oh, he nearly brought that all the way back. At least Balrog has a safe move. Alex and Nikali have their two most unsafe moves as their overlap. Yeah, but it's always EX dash punch, that's the thing. Or I shouldn't say always, you need at least one bar. It sucks to accidentally burn one bar, but you know, Alex and Nikali accidentally burn one bar and also are really unsafe. But EX dash punches are safe. Cross Tekken did some things that were objectionable and some things that were cool. But I think we can all agree right now that one bar EXs and two bar supers was cool. That's my tiny complaint with Street Fighter V, although I think it's more balanced. Can't believe he had that health. But the Sagat can't believe it either. I wish supers were shittier but cost one less bar. The thing about two bar supers is that it forced Capcom to reconsider what an EX move had to be. Yeah, you just came to the exact conclusion I did. Um, Back then, like EX moves, since they cost half a super, they better be worth it. You could have ultraed there. It actually wouldn't have even been a bad ultra. So in Cross Tekken, if anyone actually touched it, EX moves were fucking insane in that game. You could cancel them from chains. They would be safe. They would do They would cause like launchers on hit, a lot of them. Like every EX move did everything. You know what I mean? Anyone ever play Cross Tekken? Anyone play Abel? Anyone touch Abel Cross Tekken? Abel had a tackle in Cross Tekken. This is probably the worst instance of command overlap I've seen in a Capcom game in a long time. Abel's tackle had an EX version, which it caused a wall bounce. It was kind of cool. It was a neat move. Um, and he also had armor on a move EX change of direction, which was his like reversal. Okay, if you're holding down back, like to block, and then you decide you want to do your reversal, so you did quarter circle 4 punches, it would give you an EX tackle. In instances of command overlap between those two, tackle would take priority. Which meant that from if you had back charge, like it was literally impossible to do an EX change of direction. That was a good comeback. King was pretty rad. All the Tekken side characters were insanely cool, and I'm sad that they're never going to appear in any other games because a lot of them were extremely well designed. I wouldn't say Raven was well designed, but I had a lot of fun playing Raven. Raven was the character I've been waiting for. I liked his Crutch Fierce launcher. I liked his Fireball spam. He felt Oro-ish. I'm not even joking. I liked his teleport. I think Law was insanely cool. Hwoarang was definitely cool. The Tekken characters were really well designed. I'd love to play a game of only them. Capcom's Tekken characters. Julia was neat. Well, if it isn't the treble 000. Damn, I get a completely different pack of monsters streaming at 7 a.m. than 7 p.m. Treble's arrival made me realize it because he's here at the wrong time. I'm literally certain that KF will be a main game at EVO next year. And I am 89 point. I'm like, no, I'm certain that Tekken will be a main game too. That reminds me, I want to watch some Tekken, like from that. Cross Tekken 2013 unfortunately should not have been a thing. What they should have done was they should have called it Cross Tekken 2. It was literally as easy as that. If they called it Cross Tekken 2, it would have worked. And redo the menus and shit, maybe just to convince people it actually really was Cross Tekken 2. CVS1 wasn't so hotly received. People saw CVS2 and they were like, whoa, shit. MVC1, meh. MVC2, whoa. I've had plenty of chances to play the KF demo, but I haven't yet. Wow, neither of them interacted with each other. One thing I probably would have changed about Cross Tekken or not done was one character death being game over. I probably would have had sequential. One character dies, new character pops in. Yeah, you guys get it. People are willing to give sequels a lot more of a chance. He's a really good Fuerte, no one respects him. He's one of the best Fuertes I've seen in a long time. Everyone's acting like he's garbage. Like he's ruining the game. It must hurt to be a Fuerte main. Characters dying dictating rounds in SFXT would have worked, I think. Imagine if when Cross Tekken came out, they only had the Tekken side selectable. And then like once a week they would just release a Capcom side character for free. It's like, hey, we made these 30 new characters, enjoy the fighting game that they're in. Oh, hey guys, we finished Ryu. Oh, hey guys, we finished Ken. Oh, hey guys, we finished Zangief. And just tell everyone they were getting them for free. Oh, hey guys, here's Guile. Oh, hey guys, here's Chun-Li. And of course, they'd be a lot like their Street Fighter 4 versions, but everyone would have already learned Tekken characters. So they'd pick the Street Fighter 4 characters, but they wouldn't default to the Street Fighter 4 characters because they'd already had some time to learn the new mechanics. One of the biggest problems, I think this is actually the reason that Cross Tekken flopped. Okay, this is the genuine reason in my book, is because you already had this skill cultivated with Street Fighter 4, and Cross Tekken was the same exact experience, except everyone was shitty at it. You know what I mean? I heard so many people say shit like that. It's like, why would I play Zangief in this game when I can already play Zangief in Street Fighter 4 for the exact same experience, except I'm good at that game? It doesn't do anything differently. It had a few different characters. It had different game mechanics. But no one wanted to waste time like learning something they basically already knew how to do somewhere else. There was this big expectation that once they got good at it, it would just be the same as the game that they're already good at. You were already an excellent Ryu, or like even an excellent Zangief. You were already an amazing Zangief. Even if you'd never played Cross Tekken before, if you just played Zangief. And the problem was the Tekken characters had to compete against that. There were a whole bunch of veterans playing Street Fighter characters that were barely changed. I mean, they actually saw quite a lot of change, but like you could functionally, you were already really good. You already understood the footsies of Zangief, and they didn't change that much. Like, yeah, you had boost combos to work into your game plan, but that was it. And like character swaps, but that was the only other thing. You didn't have to learn that much. You actually did have to learn a lot, but people didn't realize what you had to learn. It's a long story. Excuse me. But people didn't really feel like they needed to learn anything. And in the beginning, they were right. It's like there would be people who would know 80% of Zangief versus people who would know 10% of King. And the people who knew 80% of Zangief were dominating. I don't know why Zangief's my example, because there were no Zangief players. I'm pretty sure Knuckle D played Zangief. Zangief Guile, something like that. The Tekken side characters had no time to cultivate. That being said, most players were really garbage at Cross Tekken. That's a good guaranteed punish. That really comboed from that far away. That's what they did. But that would have maybe upset people who wanted to just keep playing regular old Street Fighter 4. That's why I just suggested though that they should have released all the Tekken characters immediately and then made pretend like the Street Fighter characters weren't finished but would be released for free, even though they were all finished. It's because people still would have been happy with a 30 character game, and people like receiving things for free, and they especially like receiving things for free when those things are like Ryu and Ken and Chun-Li, their mains. Just forcing people to play only the Tekken side for a little bit would have been, I think, what the game needed. Because once you add Ryu in, it's like, yeah, there's going to be a lot of people who do just play Ryu because they know how Ryu works. And even there's going to be a bunch of Ryu mains who are just going to play Ryu because he's their main. But there's not going to be that many people who play Ryu. It's not like every single player will abruptly adopt Ryu as their second character. So eventually it would have been, instead of like being 10% King versus 90% Ryu, it would have been 10% King versus like 20% Ryu if it wasn't someone's main, but they just used fundamentals. Or I should say like 40% Ryu. Or like maybe occasionally the 90% Ryu for the people who were actual Ryu mains. But then that's Ryu, that's the first character released. And then let's say by the time they release Jury, it's like here's my 50% King versus like 80% Jury if I was a Jury main, and then people who didn't play Jury wouldn't even add her onto their team. You know what I mean? At first it would be 10% King versus like 50% Ryu, but then it would be your 20% King versus my fucking 50% Zangief. You know what I mean? People would get better at the Tekken side by as each new character is released. There'd be more emphasis on Tekken, and then it would feel a lot more like a new game if it was only new characters. There'd be less people wondering why the fuck they weren't playing Street Fighter 4 if their Street Fighter 4 main wasn't even in the game. But they would love having their Street Fighter 4 main added to the game. Then they would have a better understanding of how all the new mechanics worked, and then wonder how the new mechanics applied to their character. I really feel like that would have worked. I'm genuinely really surprised that Guilty Gear Cross BlazBlue has not happened. What's going on with that? Has that ever been suggested before? Do they know that's a suggestion? Or is that just a meme? I get that they're different universes. Okay, I get that part. But that's never stopped fucking shit before. I like how Street Fighter and Tekken are just like now canon, same universe. It's like, okay. We've irrevocably added Akuma to the Tekken universe. as a punish, but he didn't do anything. I think you guys all know the versus game I'm waiting for. If you've got a good memory. Okay, I'm willing to bet that very few of you know it. But someone might. Not quite. Very close. Two very close guesses. The correct answer was Darkstalkers versus Mortal Kombat. It's literally perfect. Capcom has an excuse to reboot Darkstalkers. They're willing to use the characters in a more violent setting than Street Fighter characters. The biggest reason they said they didn't want to do versus Street Fighter, versus Mortal Kombat, was the violence of the setting. But if it's Darkstalkers, it'd be more okay because that setting's already violent. It's genius, I know. Ed Boon has been very positive about literally every crossover. Ed Boon has not said no to a crossover that I can recall. He said for a long time he said he's wanted to do a Street Fighter crossover. Why can't there just be two? Why can't there be another Realm one and a Capcom one? Red Focus? That's already a safe move. I don't remember a pro scene for MK versus DC. I don't remember what happened about that game. I don't even know what about it was broken. I just know that it was defective. I saw that approach and I knew. I can't believe the Zangief didn't. It was so obvious to me. I was like, here's an instant overhead jump fierce backwards. You have to have perfect timing to avoid that lariat. It's not worth pursuing. Grabbing that lariat in its startup frames is damn near impossible. First hit only. I understand this matchup so well. I'm real good against grapplers as Vega. I used to counterpick Vega against grapplers. I've done it so much. Vega's footsies, I adore. But then a lot of other things about the character, like his lack of wake up. Or like the weird way his special moves work. Vega's normals, I adore so much. If I could run any character special moves on, if I could run any character special moves on any character set of normals, Vega's set of normals would win. If I could make a mishmash of all my favorite normals, Vega would have about 80% of the normals. I'm really fucking tired. I'm starting to really feel it. I gotta get out of here soon. I watched a good chunk of this video. This is an hour and 34-minute video, and I've watched fucking an hour and 22 minutes of it. Oh my god. I've been enjoying the discussion so much. Why am I still here? 7:40 a.m. I've been chilling, but like I need to get the fuck out. Wake up Ultra from Vega is pretty brave. Ultra 1. And by pretty brave, I mean pretty suicidal. It feels good to see Japanese players to pull shit like that out. Makes me feel better about myself. Excuse me. My stomach gets really confused if I'm up too long. I don't know why. Vega's EX roll is actually extremely good against that Ultra. Whoa, I caught a backdash from like half screen. I remember Marvel Superheroes. I had the PlayStation version. Or the gems. That was the fighting game. I think there was a Super Nintendo platformer with the same name. This is some serious turtling. Did he really just EX claw or EX mask off? The hell kind of decision is that? And he got the dash. That's a no mask Ultra. This Vega's trying to make a statement of some variety. As a former Vega main, I do not like Street Fighter V Vega. I don't like the way his normals work. I can understand why Vega players would dislike Vega in the new game. Speaking as a Vega who dislikes Vega in the new game. Vega's normals are still good in the scope of Street Fighter V compared to other characters, but he feels fucking limp. You know what I mean? His normals don't feel dramatically better than everyone else anymore. And that was like one of the big reasons to really play Vega. His normal selection in like every Street Fighter game. Wow. It doesn't feel like there's a good reason to keep the claw on in almost any matchup. Except that you might eventually get the claw knocked off if you keep it on. Whereas if you take it off, it'll never get knocked off. Which sounds like the exact opposite of it should be. You want to get your claw knocked off as Vega. That's like a best case scenario. Vega is one of those characters that you wouldn't touch Vega unless you were Vega main. You know what I mean? Zangief is like that. A lot of people just kind of have a Ryu, but you don't really play certain characters unless you main that character. So a lot of the Vega mains disappeared. And then a lot of other characters who didn't really like... A lot of the other players who never touched Vega are still never touching Vega. Something about his character. Wow, that worked for him again. I'm like the one guy with the Pocket Vega. But my character selection makes no sense to everyone else. I pick my characters heavily based on normals. I picked Aura based largely on his normals. I picked Vega largely based on his normals. I picked Elena almost entirely based on her normals. I picked Laura based on her normals. I picked Gal based on his normals. Normals are like a huge, huge factor for me. I tend to play characters with good normals in any game that I can play. I think I've heard of that happening, Sir Geddes, but it's never happened to me. Laura normals I don't think are better than Chun or Kareen, but I like them more, yeah. Laura feels like she's got a more complete set of normals than Kareen does. Chun definitely feels like she has a more complete set than Laura, but Laura's are more normals that I understand. Chun-Li's are more normals that I don't. Like, I understand Chun-Li's crouch medium kick. Stand hard kick I don't really like playing around with. Back fierce is like a purely counter poke button. It's not my kind of button. I prefer range to frame advantage if I ever have a choice between the two. Kareen is mostly frame advantage kind of normals. The one range based normal she has is like stand medium kick. I like Vega style normal selection. More so than a Sakura style normal selection. Where everything is plus. Or like Kami would be a good example. Everything is plus, but um, you can't control space in the same way. Kareen V skill I think is minus. It's like minus a smidge for one version and minus a lot for the other. I think it's like -5 and -1. I could be wrong. Power Stand Fierce is an example of the kind of normal I like. Laura Stand Hard Kick is the example of a kind of normal I like. Oh, no cancel. I like how I still haven't left. 3 minutes left of this shit. Let's do this. I can watch for 3 minutes. We never get rain here, dude. I'm jealous of any place it rains. It's rained like fucking... It hasn't rained in months here. California fucking sucks. It literally rains about 4 days a year. Wait, it's rarely humid here. It's relatively consistent temperatures. It's usually between 100 and like 70 somewhere. 160 if you understand my Fahrenheit, which you probably don't. What's 100 degrees Fahrenheit? It's like 30 some, 33 Celsius, somewhere around there. I don't actually remember. Fuck all this imperial bullshit that we have. Why can't I have normal measurements? I mean, that's the hottest it gets. If you go down to Arizona or Nevada, it gets to like 120. No, no, that would be too strong, Raging Panic. That would be too strong. I live in the desert. Oh shit, the video ended.